Hi, I'm Michael V,
And I'm Tech,
and this is Console Guts.
where we talk about what made the good old days so good.
And today we're going to be talking about our very favorite game, well, one of our favorite games, The Legend of Zelda, the very first one. Now this is the very first Console Guts, so I'm going to go ahead and take you guys through what we actually do here. This isn't a review show, alright? What we're going to do is we're going to talk about how important these games are historically. Then we're also going to be talking about our personal experiences with these games, how we experienced them for the first time, how we fell in love with them, and what we do with them lately. And then finally, we're going to talk about probably the most controversial thing. We're actually going to discuss whether these games are overrated, underrated, or their legend is exactly where it should be. And we're starting with a big one.
Damn right, it's going to be fun.
So him and I really love to play old school games, but we usually have varying opinions on things. So let's go ahead and kick this thing off. I'm going to start off talking a little bit about The Legend of Zelda and why it is important historically for me. And then Tech is going to talk a little bit about why The Legend of Zelda is important to the genre of RPG, because I have less experience with. So, the real truth about The Legend of Zelda, I mean, we all generally know how it came to be. It's a brainchild of Shigeru Miyamoto and what have you. But really, the thing that made Zelda important in the United States is a little thing called battery backup, saving. It wasn't the very first thing in the history of games to use a battery backup. It wasn't. But it's the one that did it right. Okay? Up until The Legend of Zelda, all the games we had were meant to be beaten from basically in one sitting. And whereas you can beat The Legend of Zelda in one sitting, its ideal experience is for you to explore the world. And so they had to have a way to save that information. In Japan, they had it on essentially a floppy disk, and that was the way that they saved. But when they brought it to America, they had to come up with a new way. So they put a CMOS battery, a very similar kind of battery to the one that's in your watch, and they use that to power it to create save files. The save files are relatively unstable, but ultimately it allowed us to have much longer experiences, and that's why it's really important. So essentially, if you've ever saved in a game, chances are you actually have Legend of Zelda to thank for it.
Much better than that password system that NES games were using up until then, too.
Oh my god, it was a horrendous thing. Like, the password system, why couldn't it just be like 4 or 5 characters? It was always like 20 characters.
It like filled up the entire screen, you had to get a pen and paper, like, no.
And so here's the thing that I've heard a lot of people talk about. So the password system, they always would, people complain about the numbers and letters. What about things like Mega Man that used pictures? Like, how are you even supposed to notate that? Like
you have to draw a picture of the entire screen? Like, there wasn't smartphones. You couldn't just like snap a picture of your screen on your phone back then. It was, you had to write it down, or you had to be really, really good, or have some special way of notating it for stuff like that. But I know, didn't Mega Man have colors along with the numbers as well?
Yeah.
Or like it was like a grid with A's and B's and ones and.
And I guarantee if we're getting any of this wrong, you guys will let us know, so.
That's okay.
I'll read your comics and then immediately ignore them. Alright.
I'll take them into a small amount of consideration, then do the same thing, probably.
Alright, Tech, so tell me. Tell me why this matters.
Pretty much, like, whenever most people say RPG, they're not particularly talking about the Legend of Zelda. Most of the time they're talking about JRPGs, Japanese RPGs, Final Fantasy, Star Ocean, stuff like that. But to Westerners, this was still a role-playing game. Like, you took the role of a character, you took him through an entire adventure, you watched him grow and level up, you got his items with him, and it might be an entirely different thing than the story-driven stuff that was going on in Japan with their RPGs, but it actually created its own entire genre. Like, we have Western RPGs as a genre. It's almost nothing similar to the usually turn-based styles of JRPGs, but it still had its own influence, and this game basically started all of that. Like, a lot of things followed before. There's actually other games around the same time that did something very similar to this. I think Hide Light is the best example. Not super well known, and it was called like a copy at the time.
Is that game like super rare now?
No, it's really cheap actually. If you whenever I found it at
I don't even know what I'm thinking about. Some collectors just slap their face and they're like, "Dang it, Val!"
I was on a couple of different systems.
I'm not a collector. I just play the games.
Right.
Says the guy who's got the old tube TV.
Yeah.
It's our sexy RCA Color Max. That means we're talking about the 80s. Just so you know.
And you know what?
Oh, Color Tank. I'm sorry, not Color Max. It's a Color Tank.
No, wait, there's that track or tank? It doesn't matter. Either way.
Zelda.
Zelda, indeed. And because of that, you know, like, we just weren't used to that. We were used to platformers. We were used to puzzle games like Tetris and stuff like that. This was an entire adventure that you could play out, and not only just in one sitting because of that battery backup. You got to experience this, like, and moreover, when we were kids, you know, we got to go to school and talk to our friends about our experiences, because there was tons and tons of secrets here too that you uncovered. So you know, you got to tell your friends, "Hey, did you find the one gambling game a couple screens to the left of the start?" All these things happened, and it was the first of its kind. I'm not necessarily the first of its kind, but it definitely shot Western RPGs into somewhere where it should be. That entire action adventure.
There's one thing I learned about YouTube. Is you always got to be careful ever saying anything was the first. Because you could be completely correct, and they're going to find something somewhere. They're like, well, it's kind of...
Well, technically, this tabletop game.
Well, a long time ago, I think I referred to the Atari 2600 as like the birthplace of the video game console. Mm-hmm. People are like, well, you know, technically the Magnavox Odyssey was first. Right. And I'm just like, I'm talking about video game consoles. Magnavox Odyssey was essentially a standalone unit. All the cartridges essentially came with it. I mean, it had like one other package that you could buy with extra cartridges. I'm sorry, when you name your cartridges 1, 2, 3, and 4, you are not the birthplace of the video game console. But that's my own thing, and I know you can all disagree with me, but you know, that's me being upset from the arcade guts today. But
wow.
Okay, so both of us have experienced Zelda in many different ways. We'll get into actually talking about the gameplay itself, what's important, what works, and what doesn't work for it. But first thing is what I think is most important, as we talked about, as we said. This is where we talk about what made the good old days so good. I'll do my story last, because I'm sure chronologically it probably actually would come after yours. So we'll find out. So tell me about your first experience of Zelda.
I know back in the day, like whenever my family, we were kind of poor. I remember having an NES probably before like 2nd, 3rd grade, so I wasn't super developed, and like I hadn't like experienced a whole lot yet. But I do remember Mario, and I remember my family renting Zelda. I didn't own Zelda for a while. Like the first time I beat Zelda was actually the re-release on the Game Boy Advance cartridge, and that was the first time I fully experienced it. But I do remember playing. I do remember being blown away by the fact that, you know, it wasn't a side scroller. I think as a really young kid that blew me away, and I don't know why. But it was just different than the main Mario cartridge that we had, Mario and Duck Hunt, you know. So them renting that, like, it blew my mind. And honestly, I kind of forgotten about Zelda until I think Game Boy Color days, because I remember like Link's Awakening was, I think, the actual first. Was the first one I owned.
That's a whole nother.
That's another tale.
Oh, I don't even know. Are we gonna set up like a Game Boy just right there? Nothing behind it.
But you know, whenever I finally came around to it, you know, like whenever I finally did get my hands on the NES Classics copy, because at that time I didn't have an NES, and I thought those were so cool. Oh, they made old NES cartridges into Game Boy Advance cartridges. I can play them on the go.
I got so excited about that.
I remember having an entire blast with it. I'm like, you know, I had already played all of those. I had already played the newer Zeldas, Ocarina of Time, Link to the Past. I had done all those already. Or at least I had experienced them. So, like, going back to the basics, like, you know, I didn't, but the best part was, it didn't feel antiquated, it didn't feel old. Like, the one thing that I know is compared to the other 2D Zelda games, you didn't swing your sword in an arc. Boo-hoo. This was the NES. Like, I understood. And I still consider it, like, it's still one of my favorite NES games, you know, mainly just because of what it is and what it did. But overall, you know, unfortunately, it was like, I think it was like middle high school whenever I finally got around to it, though, so I think I could appreciate it a little bit more than way back in the day. So, maybe not, it was probably ended up being after yours, but...
probably not.
Oh, crap.
By the time I first got my hands on The Legend of Zelda, I had already played Ocarina of Time. I believe I had already played Majora's Mask. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so let's understand that bit of information. But the interesting thing is, my brother had a Nintendo Entertainment System. I had the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. And I didn't have many games for it. I had Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, Mario World, and Mario All Stars. I think that's it. That's what I grew up with. That's my background. Sorry, guys. So, I went through the other Nintendo consoles. I've always been very loyal to Nintendo. If you want to add boy at the end of my fandom, you're more than welcome to. But what was my first experience with The Legend of Zelda? Well, my friend, who lived in a pretty wealthy family, he calls me up and he's like, hey dude, you want to spend the night? I'm like, heck yeah, dude, I want to spend the night. That sounds awesome. We'll hang out, watch scrambled porn.
Oh, the good old days.
That's a different.
That's
another episode. That's a different. That's a whole episode by itself. Anyways, and he goes, check this out, dude. I have the original Legend of Zelda, and I'm like, what? That's crazy. It's in this gold cartridge. That blew my mind. All right, and I know everybody says that, but legit, dude, it's really cool. I mean, I don't know if it's in frame, but look how sexy that is.
Every single cartridge was this flat, dull gray. Then all of a sudden you come over here, and bam, you have that nice shiny gold. Mm-hmm. Every kid was jealous of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pac-Man's crap compared to that gold cartridge.
I do love Pac-Man. That's another episode. Anyways, but here's the thing. He puts it in. He turns on his NES and blink, blink, blink. I had to watch this guy screw around with this old ass NES for what seemed like 3 hours. And when he finally got it on and it got to the first screen, not this screen was cool, but the first screen where you're there and it's got whatever.
Yeah.
I thought the game was glitching. I didn't know what the art was. I see all these jumbled mess that's supposed to represent trees, and I didn't know it looked like Green Mountains to me. It looked like Green Mountains. And I was just like, dude, I think the game's broken. He goes, no, it's supposed to look this way. I'm like, no, it's not. No, Zelda's beautiful. Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. There's no way it means to look like that. And now I know that they kind of had one pattern that they used, and they would use a bunch of different what have yous. Anyways, so yeah, so that my general experience, my first experience was actually kind of negative, to be honest. I played a little bit, and then he was like, now we should try Zelda 2.
Oh.
And I hated that. I didn't know what the hell that was. And I you know what, I've heard a lot of people be like, it's not that bad. I don't like it.
Still not that bad. Still not that bad.
Alright, that's a whole nother episode.
That is more of a typical RPG, mind you.
Yeah.
Because of the experience part. That's usually how most people differentiate it, actually.
Exactly. So my first experience was actually kind of crummy on it, but to be honest, I fell in love with it probably about the same time you did, though, because they started coming out with those Game Boy Advance cartridges, and I was like, all right, I'll get it. And I didn't beat it there. First time I ever beat it was on the NES later on, but it's still, it ended up being a really phenomenal game. I freaking game FAQ'd my way through the whole thing the first time. Now I don't. Don't worry. It's all up here now. But the first time I cheated the whole time. Oh, that's a whole nother episode. That might be the next episode. We might have to talk about that at the end. I'm thinking the next episode I'd like to have a whole discussion about what constitutes as cheating.
Right.
That would be a good one. Anyways.
But, as a kid, though, whenever you went to school, you could share with your friends, oh yeah, there are these secrets here, here, and here. Mm-hmm. And, whenever me and you played through that, get the power.
Game FAQs, man.
It's the same thing. But, whenever we were a kid, we didn't get to experience that, of course, because we played it later on. The other kids, if you had a game with a friend and you found something cool, you told them about it. They're like, oh, really? Because I found this there. And then all of a sudden, you are finding all those extra heart containers. You found that one statue that moved that let you buy the blue ring. All that stuff. So I don't find that the game FAQs, at least in that situation, to be really that big of a deal. I mean, maybe if you're following it screen by screen, which we've... Okay, I've done two. Never mind. We're not going there.
I have done it screen by screen. 3 left, 2 up, 1 right. I've done it. All right. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break here. You actually aren't going to notice the break because it's just going to cut. But when we come back, we're going to get into what we think works with this game, what doesn't work with this game, and then our final verdict, whether we think this game is actually rated properly or not. All right, so you will see us again now. And we're back. Wasn't that a great, like no second wait? The magic of television. Welcome to the 80s.
We don't even have commercials. We're bad.
I could. No, that'd be annoying. Yeah,
Too
right.
early. Wait till we have more viewers.
I really doubt we'll make any YouTube money, but that's all right. We're just doing this because we love the games. If I really cared about YouTube money, I probably would invest in a mic right now.
It's in that whole camera. Nice echo, huh?
Yeah, it's got a little echo in it, but that's all right. All right, so like I said, let's get into it. I'll start. What works for me? The music. It's really kind of like no shit at this point. Like, of course the music, but I can't
go. Ringtone, for God's sakes.
I was listening to the Club Nintendo Majora's Mask CD that they sent out, which wasn't that great, but awesome.
Okay.
Kind of a mixed thing. Did you know that they remade the dungeon music for Majora's Mask? One of the songs on our CD that we got from Club Nintendo is like an updated version of the... Because I just got done playing this for this thing, and then that came in the mail, and I'm like, what? So yeah, somewhere in Majora's Mask they have the original dungeon music. That was cool. Original dungeon music sticks in your head. Every single dungeon has the same music till you get to the last one. And then you know it just got real. And then, of course, let's not even forget the overworld theme is phenomenal. Alright, so the upgrading. The upgrading is awesome. Because it encourages you to really explore the environment. It becomes like a drug. That the first time, when you're playing this without knowing what Zelda's all about, the first time you come across the upgrade, you're like, wait, what's this now? There's stuff that makes me stronger? Because let's go ahead and face it. Like, original Mario Bros., you had a mushroom and a fire flower, and, you come across pretty quick. How many hearts and stuff do you need to get your new sword?
I think it's 5 for the white sword, then like 12 for the for the magical sword.
Yeah, so like it's crazy just to get a hold of I mean, for someone who hasn't played, when you speedrun it, you get it fast. But if you've never played them, that's going to be many hours of playing and exploring. So I think that works great. The gameplay is phenomenal. I actually surprisingly don't think the bosses are too difficult.
Don't they reuse like the first level boss for like level 7 or level?
I think so.
Like 6 or 7 or 8.
Even Ganon, as long as you're properly prepared. Here's a pro tip. All right, pro tip. Ready for this? See those potions that just went by? That makes this game easy. Every other Zelda, Ocarina of Time and all that stuff. Okay, you don't even need potions. They're a joke. Get a fairy. Right?
One fairy, you're fine.
Yeah, don't get a potion. This game, I couldn't get through Ganon's castle. Then I blue potioned the hell out of it, or red potioned the hell out of it. Jesus Christ, it was like a joke. All right, here, you ready to listen? You listening? Paying attention? I'm from the 80s. Right now, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Use potions. Got it.
Because all of a sudden, halfway through, you got sword beams again.
So awesome.
You're like invincible for like 20 minutes until you finally get hit. Then you're like, crap! I lost my sword beams! Then you like fight off every enemy relentlessly to get that one heart to get you back to full.
Absolutely. Alright, so music. The actual gameplay is amazing. The layouts of the dungeons are awesome. Swastikas, that's cool. Play the game if you don't know what I'm talking about. The just overall experience is outstanding. I have very little actual complaints about this game, but I am going to mention some. Alright, so, grinding in this game, it does exist. It's for getting rupees, and it takes forever. Alright, I don't like how long that takes. I'm not a big fan of grinding, so that takes too long. Dark Nuts can just go not existent.
Straight to hell.
Straight down. They're the knights that you can only hit from certain angles, and they're at least for me, they're very difficult to predict. I'm sure once again there's some pro player out there that's like, Val's an idiot. But no, I don't really care if I'm an idiot. Dark Nuts suck. The clock, alright, never shows up when I need it. There's a stop clock that's supposed to stop your enemies. I always get on the last enemy. Every time. It's ridiculous. Through the entire game. I don't think I got it at the right time once. It really made me upset.
Or it's like one enemy left.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, not when you need it.
Okay, so, there's a couple things that, like I said, they're really specific that I don't like about the game. for people who are playing this game today, replace your CMOS battery. Do not get it and go, oh, it saves. Replace it. Even if it saves, replace it. Don't make the mistakes so many people make with NES games, which is they play through half their game, they put in 8 or 9 hours into it, and then their CMOS battery that was good is now dead. Because it's old. Which means you can't save. Which means your file gets lost. Everything's gone. I'm playing Final Fantasy 3, 5, or whatever it is. Final Fantasy 2, 4?
2, 4.
2, 4. Final Fantasy 2 or 4, depending on who you are. I'm playing through that right now. I have 4 save files of the same thing. Because they're saved on different parts of the cartridge. Just in case.
Just in case.
I'm dead serious, dude. I already had one of them disappear.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's jumping around.
Ooh,
I don't
rough.
trust this cartridge.
That's rough.
I'm really scared. But anyways, oh man, it's a damn good game. Does it still feel like a high adventure? Not really. I'll be honest. Like, if you're somebody who's gotten used to playing the new Zeldas, like, it's pretty simple. Okay, the way that you deal with the dungeon, go to every room, kill everything, push every block. If nothing happens, move on. That's how you beat the entire game.
And when you don't know where to go, bomb random walls.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that or don't like that. That there's no indication about where you should and should not.
They at least
bomb.
fix that later on, you know, like the little sword kink sound, you know,
Yeah,
little
absolutely.
cracks.
So yeah, so it wasn't super in depth for me. I was just kind of like music, game, Dark Nuts suck. But ultimately, those are my likes and dislikes of this game. I really enjoy it. What works for you, Tech?
I hate to just reiterate you, but you know the music is classic. You know that the little jingle. It's been my text message tone for years now. I'll never ever get tired of it. I'll never get tired of the basic da 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 da. Never ever will I. I don't think I'll ever get tired of that. I could probably have that like playing.
I'm gonna stop you while it's in my head. One last thing that I hate: when you start a new game, your heart should be full. All right?
Right?
This is bullshit. All right? I have 5 million hearts, and I start the game with 3 hearts. Oh man,
That's not cool.
I
So it's grinding for hearts and rupees. Still not fun.
after you're done, remind me to talk about one more pro tip. Keep going.
Pro tip, okay. Like the freedom to do the dungeons in any order, while you could get screwed over depending on, you know, which dungeon you went to. I did like that. Because, you know, it was an adventure, I did explore. It did at least tell you whenever you go in, oh, this is Dungeon 6. You probably shouldn't be here if you don't have anything.
What orders did you do your dungeons? Do you remember?
I don't remember the exact numbers. I think it was like I know that at least this last playthrough, because we played it again, just a couple of weeks ago, to refresh ourselves. Going through again, I kind of went through it with a speedrunner mindset, or at least a completionist mindset. So I think
on my end.
yeah, like I did 1, 3, 1, 3, 4 or something like that. To either way to get, I'm sure I'll get someone commenting. Well, the most optimal order is this, but you know, I was able to get the raft.
Suck the fuck.
Raft.
Michael B, he's changed.
Raft, step ladder, to be able to get all those hearts. Basically, I went into the second dungeon with, no, I went to the first dungeon with the white sword already. Either the first or the second.
Oh wow.
It was, I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not hitting stuff more than I have to.
I really went through it relatively normal. My path was very simple. It was 1, 3, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, so on and so forth. I just did 2 and 3. I switched those 2.
I know I switched 7 and 8 because I didn't have the. I got the magical book before I got the.
I was very proud of myself. I don't know if you had this. I was able to get through the entire game until Ganon's castle, Ganon's dungeon, without any hints or anything. I just remembered it.
Yeah,
I was pretty proud of that. And
Yeah.
I know, once again, you speedrunners are out there yapping at me. I hate you people. In case you can't tell, we've been abused by YouTube.
Yeah, but here we are again for the lashings.
Can't help, man. I love you guys.
I love all the little things that you just don't know until you've played it a couple times or you've looked at those FAQs or speedruns, like the teleporting or the secret passageways after you get the power bracelet or whatever. I didn't know about that until probably my second or third full playthrough.
I knew about them, but I didn't use them this run.
That too. Other things I really did like I did like the difficulty curve. Like, if you did go to the dungeons in order, you did feel, at least with the exception of the bosses, with that first boss being reused, like, the difficulty of the dungeons did increase. They introduced stronger enemies. You hate the darkness. I hate those whiz ropes. Forget those whiz ropes.
Oh, I'm crazy with ripped rope. I don't know what it is, dude. I can rush them and just kill them. I never have problems with them. Like, I know that they're supposed to be hard. I know people have trouble. I'm just so aggressive that I'm just like they try to hit me with something. I'm like, no!
I'm that person who, like, I stand there, like, when are they going to shoot it? When are they going to shoot it? They're not going to shoot it. And so I, like, put my shield away to stab. And then that's when I get hit. I'm like, really?
Well, I'll tell you what, man. When you have every heart in the game, and it's full, and you have potion in your pocket, whiz ropes don't scare you anymore. You're just really confident about them. Right. You're like, whatever, you're going to kill me.
And I did, like, I feel like there was some little amounts of humor in the game. Like, I know, I'm not sure if it was a localization team, but some of those hints, there's no way the kids would be able to figure out some of those
The Western
hints.
Peninsula is the key, or Eastern Peninsula, whatever
right?
it is.
10th enemy has the bomb. Like,
well, that is true.
Yeah, like,
there's bomb drops.
There is bomb drops, but like it took an episode of it was the thing that Screw Attack has, like the game myth thing.
I can't remember.
I don't remember that either way.
Screw
YouTube.
Attack plug.
The
If you don't know what
plug.
Screw Attack is, go to screwattack.com. I promise you, it's not porn.
Right.
Everyone thinks Screw Attack is with Screw Attack. What's wrong with you?
It's from Metroid. Get your act together.
What is wrong with you, sir?
Get your act together. No, like they finally went into it, you know, and saw, oh yeah, like the code is written, so the 10th enemy you kill in a row.
I got it from. I learned that from watching the speedruns on video games. Awesome video, like
video games done quick.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, video games done quick are awesome video games. Anyways, they're awesome charity. Video games done quick. Just type it in. You can see them on YouTube. They do like once a year, make tons of money for sick folks and cancer.
It's crazy stuff that they do with
legit, and they talk about it the whole time, which is nice.
Then that's
so another plug. So check that
out. Everything else, like little things that annoy me. Like I had said, I had already played the Game Boy Zelda. I had already played Link to the Past. So the sword not swinging in an arc, it killed me the first few times. Like it bugged me. You know, I was a spoiled little brat. I'm like, I just want my sword to swing sideways. I'd be so much better at this game if my sword swung sideways with me. Other than that, like not having access to the internet, that would have killed me. Like if I would have played this, you know, after the time where I could talk to my friends about it, but before I had the internet, I would have given up probably. You know, I would have gotten halfway through, and I would have. I didn't always have a subscription to Nintendo Power, though.
You get the power. You get the clues that you can use.
But again, if it wasn't the time frame where I could talk to my friends about it, I probably wouldn't have access to that Nintendo Power either.
I know.
I only had it some of my life. I loved it to death. But, you know, if that kind of a thing, you know, cryptic secrets, you know, for some reason people really, really praise it in this game, or like, you know, they kind of gloss over the fact that those bomb walls, you can't see them at all. You have to know where they are. You have to experiment.
The only bomb wall that sticks out, they do give you a hint for Ganon's castle, and it's really vague. But I think it's the second to last dungeon. No, second to last dungeon. It's a bush, and there's a whole bunch of bushes, and then there's one that just kind of sits by itself. That one kind of looks suspicious. But like, you know, like a lot of the hearts and stuff, like it's just legitimately just. I'm right there with you. It's weird.
Legitimately cryptic, and other games got so much hell for it. Games like Hide Light, where you know to find the magic spell, or to you know to go kill that dragon or the wizard or it was a vampire. Sorry, to kill the vampire, I believe. You had to go find the specific spell in the specific place. It was crazy how much hell other games got for it. But this one, because it was popular, because kids talked about it and found it, it didn't get any hell.
And it had a gold cartridge, my brother.
Yeah, I guess that excuses quite a bit. That excuses a lot. Fair enough. Either way, like, I love the game. There's not a whole lot I can say against it, even to this day.
I feel like an asshole. I really feel like I should have more, like, I should be more like, well, you know what's wrong with the game. But the thing is, I'll be honest, bros. My fanboy goggles are on really tight right now.
The annoying beep if you're under 2 hearts?
You can go ahead and type about how big of a fanboy I am, but it is legit. I freaking love Zelda so much, it's really hard for me to see what's wrong with it.
It's a legitimately good NES game, though.
Oh, it's a must-have.
Like,
it's a must.
If you have an NES and you don't have Zelda, there's something
kill
wrong.
Yourself. Don't kill yourself, because that's wrong.
There's something
it's
wrong.
Annoying.
Go see a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Or like
talk to a shrink. Excuse me, Dr. Floyd? I don't have Zelda. Yeah, for what system? Yeah. Here's $50.
Go get a copy of Zelda. It's not that expensive. It's like $10-15. Go get it. Especially if you're watching this and you haven't played the original Legend of Zelda. Sorry if we're spoiling anything about anything. Not really much.
Spoiler alert, by the way.
Right? I mean, it only has the story.
Ganon loses.
Right. I was about to say, it only has the simplistic story right there in the background for you to read, and then it tells you what to do, and then you assume that we did it because we beat the game, and that's about it. You know, save stuff.
I got my second quest on right now. I can plug in a controller and show you guys.
Indeed.
All right, let's address that. Actually, second quest. Is it the greatest thing ever or the super greatest thing ever? It's you know what? It's really hard. It is actually really hard.
It does spike up. I've played it before. It does spike up.
Yeah, but if you are someone who is like me, like I said, this game is actually pretty easy once you know your way around. Second quest it. Either you can second quest it the right way, which is beat the whole original quest and then press start, or you can just enter in Zelda cheat code. Speaking of that, pro tip time. Here we go. Get ready for this. You ready for this? Are you ready for my pro tip? If you don't need to grind for anything, and you want to get to whatever dungeon you want consistently, kill everything on every screen no matter where you go except for one person on each screen, and they will never regenerate until you kill that last thing. You can turn off the game and turn it back on.
Really?
Yeah, I'll show you after you turn off the game. So, like, say I have a screen that has, like, 5 or 6, I don't know, P-hats. They're annoying. Okay?
I never even bothered to kill them.
No, I ignore them. But let's just say, okay? I can go to that screen and kill all of them but one, and then for the rest of the time I play that game, it will never regenerate the rest of those until I kill that one. Even if I turn it off, turn it back on. As long as I save. So whenever I know, like, man, I just really want to get to this temple, I'll start, or dungeon, I'll start just kind of systematically doing that. If you guys didn't know that, now you do. Try it out. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you know, just look it up and you'll get better description. But long and short of it, kill everything but one, and then it will stay that way. Some dungeons you can do that with. It doesn't work with Dark Nuts. Bullshit.
You would.
It doesn't work with Dark Nuts.
You would try.
Which is so mad. Especially there's some rooms where you have to beat all, like, the Dark Nuts to open a door every time, and that's offensive. That's offensive.
Did you use bombs? Did you try using bombs?
Man, I suck with bombs.
Okay, fine.
I just hand-to-hand combat them. Alright, here we go. Here's a big one, guys. You ready for this?
What do we think?
Alright.
What do we think?
What do we think? Alright, this is what I think about The Legend of Zelda. Is it the greatest game ever made? No. It's not. Do I think the credit this game gets is right where it should be? Absolutely. I do not think that it's underrated, and I don't think that it's overrated. Because of how influential this game actually is, and and he knows me, and you guys will get to know me. I can't separate a game just from being good and also its influence. To me, like I enjoy gameplay, but I also always think about, like, man, how important is this game? Like, Star Fox 64 is good, but that Rumble Pack changed the world. You know what I mean? Like you know.
Moms everywhere, which.
What is that supposed to mean? I think I'm going to Screw Attack Dark. Okay. So ultimately, is its legend truly worth? In my opinion, absolutely. I think The Legend of Zelda is absolutely. It should be in everyone's NES collection. Everyone should play it. If you enjoy video games, you owe it to yourself to see essentially where is the start of everything that we play today. You know, I mean, because this is save. This is where our save is, man. This is our adventure games. Right here. So that means a lot to me. And the gameplay is really, really good. Does it have faults? Absolutely. Is it perfect? No, it's not. But should everybody on Earth fucking play this game? Sir, yes, sir. Alright. You're up.
I can't say yours is a whole lot different than mine. Like, looking
Wrong!
Looking at it as an NES game in the NES library, it is exactly where it should be. It is. People say good NES games. It's Mario 3, Zelda, Metroid, Kirby. Well, probably Kirby. I like Kirby. Sorry, but you know,
I just beat the 3D Classics Kirby for the DS. Do it for sure. For sure.
Definitely, you know, top 5, top 3 NES games ever made. Whenever, like, among the Zelda games, among like other Zelda games, right where it should be. You know, it's held up. It's held up. It is, you know, it hasn't been antiquated. It hasn't been, you know, it's obvious that the age is there, but the age isn't showing. Like that was probably redundant in some way or something. But
why are you hating internet?
either way, whenever it comes down to it, like if someone were to tell me though that, you know, Legend of Zelda 1 is, you know, one of the best games ever made. I think it might be, you know, as like in the entire game industry, like whenever people tell me, you know, Zelda 1's one of the games you must play, and like must play, yes, but I've had some people put Zelda 1 on a pedestal I don't think it should be on. It's a very good Zelda game.
Do you think there's games that are better than Zelda that you just don't actually have to play? Like Zelda's a must-play game, but there's games that are actually a superior game, but just aren't required.
I want to say yes, but I can't think of an example. So
because like a big thing with me with Zelda, why it's a must play, is this is like a history lesson. You know, like you know when you're growing up and you're in America, you have to learn about the Civil War. Now Civil War sucks, boring, very boring. Sorry for people who love Civil War, but you gotta learn about it because it's super important. You know, this game's phenomenal, and you gotta learn about it because it's super important. Right. So it's way better than Civil War. But Zelda is better than the Civil War. That is my opinion.
You know what? I think that's just what we should title it. Console Guts. Zelda better than Civil War.
There it is. That's our title.
But whenever you know we're talking about it, like even whenever it comes down to what game would you recommend to someone to show what Zelda is? Not there. Like probably not this one. I mean, it's like
Ocarina of Time. I'm sorry.
Ocarina of Time.
I'm always gonna say it. Ocarina of Time may not be my favorite. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not. But when people think Zelda, they don't think of anything else. No one's sitting there. When you got that tattoo on your back, you were not thinking of Skyward Sword.
I was.
Okay,
it wasn't even out yet.
Oh, you weren't thinking of Majora's Mask or anything like that. You were thinking of Ocarina of Time because that when we say Zelda, that's what we think about. And you know what? That game. Okay, I hate. People always say it's a Citizen Kane of gaming. Bullshit. Citizen Kane sucks. It's a psycho of gaming.
Ocarina of Time is amazing. Don't.
We'll get to that.
Either way, like, you know, you whatever you want to describe Zelda in a nutshell, you give them Ocarina of Time. You want to signify 2D Zelda in a nutshell, you give them Link to the Past. This is a great game. As a Zelda game, it's probably right where it should be. Overall, in the world of gaming, maybe a little overrated. You know, it's an NES game. But it's still a great NES game. NES library, definitely at the top. I have no problems with it. It's gonna sit on my shelf for the rest of my life. Like it'll always be there, and I'll always love it.
Cool, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, I'm Michael V.
I'm Tech,
and this has been Console Guts. See you guys around.
Later.